Welcome to another episode of This is My Offer, a video series that focuses on innovative partner products on AWS. Hi, I'm Madhu Pai. I'm the partner tech lead for manufacturing and your host for today's episode. I have the pleasure of speaking with Jim Zwica. He's the Vice President of Manufacturing Solutions at Vertex Software. Jim, welcome. Please introduce yourself to our viewers and tell us about Vertex.
Thanks, Madhu. Happy to be here. Vertex Software is a cloud-based 3D visualization and collaboration solution that enables manufacturers to easily share and collaborate on even their most sensitive and complex 3D data. Our secret sauce is that we stream what we call context-aware pixels instead of caching 3D files onto the end device for client-side rendering. And I look forward to talking more about that shortly. I'm one of Vertex's co-founders, and in my role, I work very closely with customers and prospects to really help them identify areas in their digital transformation journey where where they can use Vertex to embed into their extended enterprise for, I guess, what you could consider non-traditional uses of 3D visualization or 3D models that have been a very high demand and high value for them, but it's just been traditionally a huge challenge for them to do that by using the 3D file methods that they primarily use today.
Interesting. I've always known 3D models, at least in the context of manufacturing, to be used primarily when the product is being designed. It seems like Vertex applies to many more stages in the manufacturing value chain. Am I interpreting this correctly, Jim?
You really are with the digital transformation journey everyone is on. Access to the number of use cases has expanded greatly with a strong need for 3D playing a part in that journey. We so for example, product design and engineering collaboration. You through Vertex, you don't have to send 3D neutral file formats around to each other anymore. You can just completely have that experience inside of Vertex. That includes the supplier collaboration and factory floor use cases. Where now on the factory floor, you can have the 3D geometry embedded into your work instructions, even if it's as we would call a snowflake, which would be a single configuration that they maybe only sell once a year. But you can have rich operation and work instructions that align to that configured machine. And it's very, very powerful. And it's something that just has never really happened before, and making available for them to those personas. There's numerous other use cases, whether it's e-commerce or aftermarket, that we'll get into when we show some of the use cases in a minute.
Yeah, this is actually a very insightful slide. I had never expected that 3D models would be so important and useful across the entire manufacturing value chain. So, what is unique about Vertex? How do you differentiate yourself in the market?
Yeah, so the key thing that we went after here is nearly every solution today requires a file to be generated, optimized, simplified. There's a big challenge on the end device, like is it going to a tablet, is it going to a phone, is it going to an engineering laptop? And all of those are blockers to the ability for information to truly make it to the downstream personas that you're targeting. But one of the biggest concerns, aside from those challenges, is that you have substantial IP risk when when you're taking a file and putting it on the end device. You're technically giving them a copy temporarily of your 3D geometry, and there's some substantial IP concern there. As far as Vertex is concerned, though, we never cache a 3D representation on the end device. When we talk about context-aware pixels, what Vertex does is we render an image on the fly based on what you need to see. So I need to see this configuration of this machine for this end user persona. We take that information, we render an image on the fly. That image gets streamed back to the end device, but we do it 30 plus frames a second. So when they're interacting with that geometry, they feel like the 3D is on their device, but actually all that's happening is they're getting a series of images. But the image itself, again, is there's no 3D geometry file being sent. It's just you get the experience of 3D geometry without actually having it be there. And because we're streaming context-aware pixels, we actually are device agnostic. So you get the exact same experience on a mobile phone, a tablet, a laptop. There's no dependency on the end device as far as a GPU or polygon size, that sort of thing. Everyone gets the same experience. So as long as you have an internet connection and some form of a browser ability to see the files or the images, then you're going to get the same experience. But we also, the way we've structured this out is that there's no thick client on the end device. So there's not even an add-on to a browser, for example. It's very easy for customers, whether they want to use a Vertex defined tool that we call Connect, or they want us to embed into their own user interface, user experiences that they have. It's very easy for them to get going without any end client dependency. And then as far as, we kind of touched upon the conversion files, where there's most today, if they're using one of the bigger CAD systems out there, in order for them to collaborate, they have to maybe export it out as a neutral file format. And then that neutral file format then has to be imported into however they're going to do their work, whether it's in a different CAD system or that sort of thing. With Vertex, though, we can ingest or import, over 70 file formats, native formats, neutral formats. Once it's in Vertex, they can all be merged together. They can co-interact. Again, you're going to feel like all of this, maybe you have geometry coming in from numerous suppliers. It can all be there as if everyone built something traditionally in the CAD system. But really all that's happening is Vertex is rendering an image on the fly, but you feel like you're working with that geometry. But really all that's happening is pixels are coming. And then the other good part of this is that the way we build out our architecture is that we can have truly massive models. So we can have the millions of BOM lines, billions of polygons, and it'll all work together, seamlessly, again, with no restriction on device. So you don't need a huge computer with a big GPU in order to do that. And I should mention that generally, maybe we touch this a little bit later, but Vertex doesn't actually use GPUs in the cloud or on the end device. We use commodity level CPUs, and we massively fan out the process in the creation of these images. And so it's very exciting, and it really enables downstream to be able to view a lot of things and get really, really quick time to value.
Got it. And I also read about Vertex Connect. Could you spend maybe a minute on that?
For sure. Yeah. So Vertex Connect is our purpose-built tool that we have sitting on our own SDK. It's you could say maybe a entry-level introduction to Vertex, where they can interact with get to know Vertex, and import large models, do supplier collaboration, that sort of thing. And what generally happens is once they get a feel for what we've built as a tool, they quickly move into what we call our platform solution, which is using our SDK to embed us into their current tools that they have that they're using today. It's a great tool. It's a very valuable tool, and we do have a lot of customers that just use that by itself for supplier collaboration and internal collaboration. But like I said, oftentimes they see a lot of value and move quickly into our platform SDK environment.
Got it. And in any digital transformation journey, I think the core tenet is collaboration. I think you've mentioned it multiple times thus far. So this is really interesting. So you don't have to share files between teams and risk having multiple copies, maybe sometimes outdated ones, and lose control over those copies. You said you have no software to install. You can integrate with multiple file formats. You can visualize large 3D models easily. I'm curious, what is the largest 3D model your customers have visualized to date? And do the customers observe any change in their visualization experience from small to large models?
Well, what we've done is like they've kind of avoided doing large models because it's just been not feasible or economically an option for them. But now that they see what the power that Vertex brings, we have customers that take a product that's got hundreds of thousands of BOM lines, and then they will move it into their factory. So then their factory will be the full factory will be there. And then at a station, for example, where they're assembling this configuration of this complex machine, uh, they will be able to take 100,000 BOM lines and maybe a billion polygons, that sort of thing. And then they can have at this station, it'll come in 30% built, and we will do these work instructions for it. So really, it's limitless in what they want to do, and it's very interesting to see where they've gone with this.
How is this leading to concrete customer value? Can you provide some examples of how Vertex software is being used across industries? And as you provide these examples, can you also explain the challenge faced by the customer and how Vertex software actually helped the customer address this challenge?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. One of our customers, they're a tier one supplier to a big OEM, and one of their challenges is when there's an RFQ or request for quote, they want to be able to quickly understand what the requirements are, and generally that means getting a lot of geometry, which would have traditionally been a big IGES file or a big step file or something like that. Well, they can't even react until they get that loaded into their environment so they can see what's necessary. Um, with Vertex, the OEM shares through Vertex what needs to be there, all of the surrounding geometry, all the, this is the area where you're going to put your component, as opposed to waiting for that to be converted. They can see it instantly. They can take their offering to the OEM and they can merge those together. The point being here is that you know they greatly reduce their understanding of what needs to be where, and these are numbers that came back from them. So they said they're able to increase their revenue by 35%. Their prep time, which is what I was mostly talking about here, is that they're able to reduce that by 75%. And then a very, very large number on the return on their investment with Vertex. Again, if you notice that quote there, that 28 hours translating a file, and we're able to get it, we're able to see it in seconds, and that's just a substantial amount of time. We do have, I think we're going to go into another one here, but we do have two case studies that are available on our website. That if you want to see more information on this, then you can find that there. But this is another case where the sales team were selling products to a customer that was they were always, we call them snowflakes, but they're one-off designs for them, and they always had substantial rework to be done because they were mostly going through 2D drawings and looking at 2D text to say this is what your product will look like. When it shows up, it wasn't what they were expecting. And so through Vertex, they can actually see the 3D representation. This is what your product will look like. And they're able to then, no, I didn't want that. I wanted this. And so they're able to, have the salesperson can show the customer, this is exactly what your product will look like. And, just eliminated a ton of errors, and it allowed them to, deliver a higher quality experience for them that didn't require a lot of rework.
Yeah, this is really impressive. I really like the numbers that you're showing on these slides. I can't wait to see a demo of Vertex in action. Can you walk us through a typical user journey while interacting with Vertex? What's the experience that the user can go through? You can be as detailed as you can, but I'm really curious.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Give you a little demo here. So this is just in a browser. I'm just on what you could consider a very non-traditional uh, workstation, but we're embedded into a Chrome browser. What I just did is I opened up a model. So we may want to do a quick search. I'm going to ghost this environment here. I'm going to zoom in, but everything that you're seeing here is a what we would call a gesture with the mouse, or the button or the mouse click. Um, and as opposed to rendering the 3D geometry on the end device, this is literally an API call. So then as I zoom in, as I open the bill of material over here, if I select that spring, and you'll see the spring there, and I may want to go, where are all the other springs in this product? And I'll hit return. And you'll find 65 results quickly. I'm going to select all of those. You'll see that they all highlight. And I might go, I'd like to just say, show only these selected parts. And it just gives you an idea, like the power of the Vertex platform and how easily you are able to find, in this case, all of the springs that are in this product itself. If I clear that out, turn everything back on, um, the fun part of this is that you can just see how fast the 3D geometry loads, the level of complexity that we have here, and the ability really to interact on any device in a very quick manner with very high fidelity models. We've talked about supplier collaboration a lot, and if I expand this out, you'll see that you're able to capture events along the way. So like if I click on this, you'll see it'll zoom in on this environment, and it allows you to have a thread, whether you're talking to your suppliers or internal your engineering department. It allows you to keep have the 3D geometry be a very integral part in your discussions, and be able to bounce around very, very quickly and see all that. So the fun part here is that we've taken what would have traditionally been a very expensive investment from the company to buy the software, the hardware, everything else, now can be done on the most economical devices. And one thing I need to reinforce is that while we are completely in the AWS cloud, we only use commodity level hardware. So we're using CPUs only. We don't even use GPUs in the cloud, and that provides a very, very economical solution for customers that again allow them to the entire enterprise to access 3D geometry in the right context. If I hop over to an e-commerce video or example, so this is where we would, like a customer would say, we would like to embed you into our aftermarket solution, for example, where you have then different, if you're a customer and you say, well, I broke this, uh, I broke this part here, it allows you to quickly go to those areas of it'll align to these components over here, these web components. And then this can be, as far as aftermarket is concerned, could just be add to cart, and then, facilitating the purchasing process. And a lot of customers as well, may want different sort of rendering modes here itself. So like maybe they want things to look more like a drawing than 3D geometry. But with Vertex, you can make that a very, very easy and seamless experience where you're able to, give sort of that 2D drawing sort of view, but it allows you to build really whatever experience you want for the customer, so that they're uh, seeing things as they need to see it, to facilitate their, what their workflow, their data flow.
Interesting. I thought it would be cumbersome, but it looks like it's pretty straightforward. I really like the way that you're able to pan, tilt, rotate, and it almost seems like you're working on the model right there on your machine. Who are Vertex's target customer persona, and what are your target industries?
So we were primarily focused on the discrete manufacturing sector today. Our customers come from aerospace, defense, automotive, electronics, heavy equipment, and industry machinery. We're also focused on larger OEMs and top tier, like tier one suppliers that deal with complex product bill of materials, tens of thousands of lines or larger, with billions of dollars in revenue. As you can imagine, key personas include, product design, engineering, IT and security, but they also involve cross-functional teams across supply chain, e-commerce, sales, service, support, and others. Depending on the use case, it just all aligns to what their priority is on their digital transformation. And once we talk to them, they can see very quickly where Vertex provides value.
And finally, Jim, let's say I'm interested in Vertex software. So how can I get started?
Yeah, of course. We'd love to start with a conversation to learn more about what they're hoping to achieve. Most engagements follow, with a demo and a fully functional 30-day trial of our Vertex Connect application. Uh, those trials typically move quickly to a pilot or a proof of concept project, for a focused use case that is part of their, business to prove the value. Then those often expand into full deployments and additional use cases. From a deployment standpoint, customers can start collaborating with our Vertex Connect application within a day or even less often. But production deployments across a large business can take anywhere from 2 to 3 months, depending on the level of complexity and the number of users and use cases being deployed.
Yeah, thank you, Jim, for taking us through how customers are realizing the concrete benefits of Vertex software.
Thank you. We really appreciate you having us.
Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you in another episode of This Is My Offer.